Hey guys, hope you're having a wonderful day. This is Anime Elton's here, and this is What If Naruto Was Trained by Tobirama Part 6. But before we start the video, a couple quick announcements. As you guys may or may not know, I'm going to be starting some My Hero Academia What Ifs. And so, at the time this video is premiering, there's also going to be a poll up about what type of quirk Izuku should have. I won't say too much here so we can start the video, but yeah. So without further ado, roll the intro. Rebuilding was hard. For everyone. While the assassination attempt was purely targeted at Lord Third, Orochimaru had all of his goons, who were previously under the guise of a newly formed shinobi village called the Hidden Sound, stir up mass panic and confusion. There hadn't been many casualties, but there had been a lot of property damage. People's homes were destroyed, shops ruined, and favorite stops charred by fire and ruined by other elements. Naruto was lucky enough that his apartment wasn't trashed or destroyed. The worst that happened to it was some scuffing on the walls of the outside, as if something, most likely a human body, had been thrown against it. But what he was currently doing was meeting with his team on top of the Hokage monument. It was currently sunrise, and the view was stunning, but it also revealed all of the damage the invasion had wrought. The village would likely have to go into high efficiency mode, which meant higher ranked missions issued, fewer but higher quality academy students graduated, and increased security. All the members, including and especially Might Guy, were silent as they observed Konoha in its entirety. After a few more minutes, Might Guy spoke up. This is what discord and rift causes. Chaos. And then chaos leads to more chaos. At the best of time, the balance between the elemental nations is like a powder keg, and this invasion is basically holding a match up to that powder keg. I can feel it. We, as in the entirety of the shinobi world, are approaching another war. A war which no one is ready for. 10 years ago, when I was a chunin, I lived through the Third Great Ninja War. It was horrific, but it allowed me to see some of the things I need to prepare you guys for before the Fourth Great Ninja War is upon us. And who knows, it might be just an old man's rambling, but I truly believe this war will be something memorable, Might Guy said, calmly and quietly, but Team 9 could practically taste the determination in his words. But most importantly, whatever happens in the future, it's important that you all stick together and protect each other. Understood? Might Guy received 3 resolute nods. Then Naruto spoke up. I want to thank you all for being here for me like a family. There is no way I can repay you, but I'll do my best to make you all proud, Naruto said, in a rare show of genuine emotion. Might Guy held back yelling, something to do with youth, to avoid ruining this moment. Instead, he opted to turn back to the rising sun, and how it painted a beautiful scenery. The rest of Team 9 followed his actions in observing the sunrise. Far away, in a very misty place, Yagura felt as if he was drowning in his own mind. Ever since that Uchiha, Madara, he claimed he was, had ambushed him, he was a helpless puppet, forced to tear apart his beloved country, family by family, and there was nothing he could do. The Uchiha had put Isobu in a sort of forced sleep. It was baffling, the thought that he could be susceptible to genjutsu, as he was a perfect Jinchuriki. But he guessed it could be chalked up to the Sharingan's terrifying scope of abilities. After he'd been placed under genjutsu, Yagura had used every bit of wiggle room he had under the genjutsu to make mistakes and leave openings for the rebel faction, led by one Mei Terumi. A wonderful candidate for the position of Mizukage, Yagura thought. But then the supposed Madara had found out and tightened control of the genjutsu, leaving virtually no wiggle room for Yagura to make mistakes to allow the rebel group to gain the upper hand. But to quote one of the Hidden Mist's famous phrases, water will overcome every barrier with time. So, day after day, Yagura had searched for a new loophole. He'd been woefully unsuccessful, until today. He'd finally found a way to sneak away, by himself. He would head directly towards the rebel camp, set off the alarms before retreating. Then, when they chased him, he would fight. Yagura had confidence in Mei's ability to defeat him. Then, he and the Hidden Mist would be free. And what a glorious way to go. An epic fight that would change the entire ecosystem and emblaze itself upon history. Yagura shook his head to clear his thoughts. He couldn't think about that right now. No, he still wasn't out of the clear just yet. He still needed to get past the guards. Time skip. 2 months. Hokage's office. Team 9 reporting for duty. Guy called out boisterously, but somehow still respectfully, to Shikaku Nara. Lord Third was still in the hospital, in the intensive care ward. Even though he managed to take down 2 high-level shinobis, it wasn't without cost to himself. It was unclear if Lord Third would ever reclaim his position as Hokage, as he was rather injured. So the head of the Nara clan, Shikaku Nara, and Jonin commander of the Leaf, had stepped up as temporary Hokage. Under his guidance, the Leaf had kicked into high gear, gaining more resources and strengthening its military might. The Leaf overall hadn't been this strong in terms of military might and the amount of resources they had gathered since the Third Great Ninja War. Okay, Team 9, Shikaku said, leafing through a couple different missions. There have been some news or rumors about the state of the Hidden Mist after the Civil War. They are a crucial asset to... Shikaku sighed before continuing. Listen, I'm gonna be frank with you. Tensions between the different ninja villages, and by extension the different lands, are high, and they only reached this height before war. The other nations, mainly the Hidden Stone, view the invasion as something that weakened both the Sand and the Leaf, so it seems they are gearing up for an all-out war. The problem is that this war could start tomorrow, or it could start in a couple of years. We really just don't know. This is why we need as many alliances as possible to deter this war. Team 7 and Team 8, along with Jiraiya-sama, have already been deployed to the Hidden Sand to stabilize our alliance. And Team 10 are going to deploy to the Hidden Waterfall in about a week to negotiate for their allegiance. And you, that is Team 9, are heading to the Hidden Mist to first scope out the situation, and if conditions are favorable, start them on the path to recovery so that they are on our side of the war. Can any of you guess why these missions are so important? Naruto raised his hand. It's because should the Leaf gain these alliances, they'll have control of the One Tails, possibly the Three Tails, the Six Tails if we can find its Jinchuriki, the Seven Tails, and the Nine Tails. Shikaku sat forward for a moment, silently observing Naruto. Yes, that is correct. Generally, in most wars, the tactical advantage goes to the side with more Biju, or the side with a more powerful Biju. In terms of Biju, should the alliances go smoothly, we'll have the clear, definitive edge. Seeing as how both the Hidden Stone, Jinchuriki, went rogue some years back and just vanished. We have some intel that they traveled west, beyond the elemental nations, but that is just speculation at this point. Then, the only Jinchuriki on the opposing side will be the Hidden Clouds, that being the 8-Tails Jinchuriki and the 2-Tails Jinchuriki. And if one thing about the Hidden Cloud is true, it's that they're opportunists. Enough to maybe keep the Hidden Cloud out of the war, if they see they have a clear disadvantage. Naruto and the rest of Team 9 nodded, and were dismissed. Time skip. 1 week. Naruto lay down in his bedroll, drifting into unconsciousness. Team 9 had camped at the edge of the Land of Fire, near the beach. First thing tomorrow, they would head towards the group of islands that made up the Land of Water, and towards the Hidden Mist. So, Gaki, I think it's about time we had a talk. A deep voice reverberated throughout Naruto's mind. Naruto sighed. He'd been afraid of this happening. With all the progress he'd been making in his training, and the fact that he'd been aware of the Kyuubi for quite some time, it was only a matter of time until he met the Ninetales. Even though Naruto couldn't see the Kyuubi, he could still feel its presence within his mind. Its voice held a massive amount of pride and confidence, though they weren't totally undeserving. It had taken the entirety of Konoha's force, hours, to even stall the beast, and it was only stopped at the cost of a Hokage's life. "And what is it you would like to talk to me about?" Naruto responded. Time skip. Next morning. Naruto felt unsettled by his conversation with the Ninetales. It had said that if Naruto wanted access to its power, he would have to prove himself first. Years of being imprisoned had made the Kyuubi wary and distrustful of humans, so in order for Naruto to be allowed to use its powers, he would have to prove himself by performing a little favor. The Kyuubi also mentioned how its brother, Naruto didn't even want to think about how that would work, Isobu, the Three Tails, was pretty shy, and seeing how Yagura was killed, it would be reforming in about 1 to 2 years. All Naruto would have to do was find it and make sure it wasn't sealed in another person unless it went willingly. Sounded easy, right? Well, that was until the Kyuubi mentioned the fact that despite being timid, the Isobu could create a whole separate dimension to hide in. Tracking it down was going to be a pain, Naruto thought, as he and the rest of Team 9 were traveling deeper into the Land of Water. They had found a fisherman, and a small tip had convinced him to take them to the edge of the Land of Water. As they walked, Naruto observed the surroundings, and upon closer inspection, the landscape seemed damaged in a way, as if something big had struggled and fought here, or as if a massive battle had been decided here as well. Naruto tensed, but calmed, when a small gesture from Guy-sensei calmed him. "What are you doing here?" a voice called out, and suddenly Team 9 was surrounded. A ragtag group of shinobi stepped out of the mist. Definitely not Yagura's group, the loyalists, Naruto thought. These guys are too scruffy looking for that. "We're looking for the rebel faction's head, Mei Terumi," my guy called. "What for?" someone asked, as a woman with long red hair stepped into view. She looked obviously like the leader, but yet she seemed as though she'd been through a fierce battle. "Konoha wishes to aid in the rebuilding of the Hidden Mist in return for an alliance. There's a threat of another war, and the countries might try and capitalize on the Mist's temporary weakness. And this is where Amorosa's help during the fight with the Loyalists," another member of the now identified rebel group called out bitterly. That would have been the deposits of cash and other resources found in abandoned ships near the edge of the coast, my guy shot back coolly. "That was you. I mean, Konoha," the woman said. "That is correct," my Guy-sensei responded. "Man, stand down," the woman said, before turning back to Team 9. "Forgive our frosty reception. We're still a little tense. Yagura was killed only days ago, and the Loyalists are only just now standing down. I'm Mei Terumi, the leader of the rebels." Anyway guys, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time.